I woke up from anesthesia thinking the hardest part was over. I had survived the surgery, but I wasn't prepared to survive the silence in my husband's eyes. He didn't bring flowers or a get-well card. Instead, he handed me a manila envelope and a cold reality. He was done. But as I sat in my recovery bed, staring at the digital trail of our joint bank account, I realized the surgery hadn't just saved my life, it had exposed his secret one. They say you never truly know someone until you're at your lowest point. For me, that lowest point was a sterile hospital bed, the rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor the only thing keeping me company. My name is Lily Rose, and 24 hours ago, I believed I was part of a team, a partnership, a marriage. The surgery was supposed to be the end of a long, painful chapter of my health journey. When I finally drifted back into consciousness, the first thing I looked for was Mark. I expected to see him sitting in that uncomfortable plastic chair by the window, maybe asleep with a book in his lap. He wasn't there. Instead, the room was empty. The nurse came in, checking my vitals with a sympathetic look that I didn't quite understand at the time. "Your husband left this for you," she said softly, placing a thick envelope on my bedside table. "He said you'd know what it is." I assumed it was insurance paperwork, or perhaps some recovery instructions he didn't want to forget. With shaking hands and a fog of post-op medication still clouding my brain, I tore it open. It wasn't medical forms. It was a signed petition for divorce. No note, no I'm sorry, just cold, legal jargon and his bold signature at the bottom. The physical pain of the incision in my side was nothing compared to the sudden hollow ache in my chest. We had been together for 7 years. I had supported him through 3 job changes and the loss of his father. And here he was, discarding me while I couldn't even sit up on my own. My phone was on the nightstand. I grabbed it, my thumb instinctively hovering over his contact name. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask why. But then a notification caught my eye. It was an alert from our banking app. Significant withdrawal detected. Mark had always handled the finances. He told me it was one less thing for me to worry about while I was sick. I trusted him, but as I logged in, the fog in my mind cleared instantly. The emergency savings account, the one we had built for years to pay off the house, was sitting at exactly $0. I started scrolling through the transaction history, my heart racing faster than the monitor could keep up with. The dates started 3 months ago. Large transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Exotic jewelry stores. A high-end boutique in a city Mark claimed he was visiting for business. But it was the transaction from yesterday, the day I was under the knife, that made my blood turn to ice. A 4-figure payment to a luxury resort, booked for 2 guests. Mark wasn't just leaving me. He had been planning his exit strategy using my own inheritance and our shared life savings as his getaway fund. He thought he could catch me at my weakest, sign the papers, and disappear before I could find the receipts. He underestimated one thing, though. He forgot that before I got sick, I was the one who built the systems he thought he was controlling. The hospital room felt smaller now, the walls closing in as the reality of the bank statements settled into my bones. I wasn't just a patient. I was a victim of a calculated heist. Mark hadn't just left me. He had tried to erase my future while I was literally unconscious. I spent the next 3 hours staring at the screen of my phone, my vision blurring occasionally from the pain meds. I tracked the money like a hunter. The boutique charges were for a size 4. I haven't been a size 4 since college. The jewelry, a diamond pendant. I looked at my bare neck in the reflection of the darkened TV screen. I hadn't received jewelry from him in 3 years. Every transaction was a breadcrumb leading to a person I didn't know. Or perhaps, someone I did. Around 3 a.m., a new notification popped up. Mark had posted a photo on his social media. He was standing on a balcony overlooking the ocean, a glass of champagne in his hand. The caption read, "Finally breathing again. Time for a fresh start." He looked happy. He looked relieved. He looked like a man who thought he had gotten away with the perfect crime. But in the background of the glass, I saw a reflection. A woman with long, dark hair, wearing a robe that looked suspiciously like the one from the boutique records. The fury that surged through me did something the morphine couldn't. It gave me strength. I hit the download button on every single bank statement from the last 12 months. I exported the spreadsheets and sent them to my private email. I didn't call him. I didn't text him. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of knowing I was awake. I called my sister Sarah. When she picked up, her voice was thick with sleep, but she went from 0 to 60 the moment I told her about the envelope. "He did what?" she hissed. "Lily, I'm coming to get you. I don't care what the doctors say." "No, Sarah," I whispered, glancing at the door to make sure no nurses were eavesdropping. "I need you to do something else. I need you to go to the house. Mark thinks I'm incapacitated for at least a week. He thinks he has time to move the rest of his things, and mine. Check the floorboards in the office. Check the safe he thinks I forgot the code to." "Lily, what are you looking for?" "The ledger," I said. "Mark is a meticulous man. He doesn't just steal. He keeps records of why he thinks he's entitled to it. If he's been planning this, there's a paper trail that the bank app won't show. And Sarah, take pictures of everything." By the time the sun started to peek through the hospital blinds, Sarah messaged me back. She hadn't just found a ledger. She had found a folder labeled Lily's Medical. Inside weren't just my records. There were life insurance policies he had taken out on me 6 months ago. Policies that paid out significantly more if I didn't make it through surgery. My heart stopped. The surgery hadn't been a difficult chapter. It had been his plan A. And the divorce papers? That was his plan B, because I had the audacity to wake up. The revelation of the life insurance policies changed everything. This wasn't just a bitter husband leaving his sick wife. This was a man who had gambled on my death. Sitting in that hospital bed, tethered to an IV drip, I felt a cold, sharp clarity wash over me. Mark thought I was a fragile flower he could pluck and discard. He forgot that roses have thorns. "Sarah," I said into the phone, my voice steadier than it had been in years. "Don't touch the insurance papers. Leave them exactly where they are. But I need you to find my old laptop, the one I used for the consulting firm before I got sick. It's in the back of the hallway closet, under the winter coats." While Sarah went to work on the physical evidence, I went to work on the digital. Mark had spent months draining our joint accounts, thinking he was being clever by moving small amounts at a time. But he had made one fatal mistake. He had used our shared home network to set up the new accounts, and he had linked his Fresh Start credit card to an email address he thought I never checked, our old wedding planning alias. I logged in. My hands were trembling, not from weakness, but from the sheer adrenaline of the hunt. There it was, the resort confirmation, the Azure Sands. It was a 5-hour drive from here. He was there right now, celebrating my successful surgery, or perhaps mourning the fact that he couldn't collect on the insurance, with the woman in the reflection. I didn't call a lawyer yet. First, I called the bank's fraud department. "I'm calling to report unauthorized activity," I told the agent, my voice dripping with forced concern. "I've just come out of major surgery and discovered my husband has moved our entire life savings without my consent to accounts I don't recognize. I believe he's being coerced or his identity has been compromised." It was a half-truth that served a full purpose. By the time I hung up, every single account Mark touched was administratively frozen. He was at a luxury resort with a woman who expected the best of everything, and within the hour, his Fresh Start credit card would be nothing more than a useless piece of plastic. Next, I sent a message to the woman with the dark hair. I didn't know her name yet, but I found her through Mark's tagged photos. Her name was Elena. She was a wellness influencer who posted constantly about living your truth and finding a partner who treats you like a queen. I sent her a single photo. It was a picture of me, pale and exhausted in my hospital gown, holding the divorce papers Mark had left for me. I captioned it, "He told you he was a widower, or that we were already divorced, didn't he? Check the date on these papers. Then check if your credit card still works at the front desk. The queen treatment is officially over." I watched the scene icon appear almost instantly. Back at the house, Sarah called me back. "Lily, you're not going to believe this. I found more than just the ledger. I found his travel itinerary. He isn't just staying at that resort. He bought 2 one-way tickets to Europe for tomorrow morning. He was planning to vanish before you even got your stitches out." "He won't be going anywhere," I said, looking at the door as the surgeon walked in for my morning checkup. Doctor, how soon can I be discharged? I have a very important meeting I can't miss. The doctor looked at my charts, then at the fire in my eyes. Normally, I'd say 3 more days, but you seem to have made a miraculous recovery in the last 6 hours. The drive to the Azure Sands was the longest 5 hours of my life. Sarah drove while I sat in the passenger seat, clutching a pillow against my surgical site to dull the vibrations of the road. I wasn't supposed to be out of bed, let alone crossing state lines. But justice is a powerful anesthetic. We pulled into the gold leaf driveway of the resort just as the sun was beginning to set. I looked at my reflection in the visor mirror. I was pale, and there were dark circles under my eyes. But I looked like a woman who had nothing left to lose, and that made me the most dangerous person in the building. We found them at the outdoor lounge, perched on white leather chairs, overlooking the ocean. Mark was laughing, leaning in to whisper something to Elena. She, however, looked frantic, staring at her phone and gesturing toward the waiter who was holding a declined credit card. I didn't rush. I walked slowly, the rhythmic tap of my cane on the marble floor announcing my arrival. Mark's back was to me. The champagne is better when it's paid for with honest money, don't you think, Mark? He froze. The glass in his hand wobbled. When he turned around, his face went from a sun-kissed tan to a ghostly gray. Lily, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in a recovery ward, or perhaps in a morgue so you could collect that accidental death premium? I threw the folder Sarah had found onto the table. It slid across the surface, hitting his glass and splashing expensive bubbles over his silk shirt. Elena looked at me, then at the folder, then at Mark. Accidental death? Mark, you told me she was an ex-wife who was stalking you for alimony. The divorce papers are dated yesterday, Elena, I said, leaning heavily on my cane. The day I was on the operating table. He didn't just lie to me, he lied to you. He told you he was a millionaire. The truth is, he's a thief who just had his access to his millions cut off. Mark stood up, his voice hushed and desperate. Lily, let's be reasonable. You're not well. You're hallucinating. I moved that money to protect it, to pay for your long-term care. Protect it? I laughed, and the pain in my side flared, but I didn't flinch. Is that why you booked 2 one-way tickets to Zurich for tomorrow? Is that why you bought a $20,000 necklace while I was being prepped for anesthesia? The resort manager approached, flanked by 2 security guards. Is there a problem here, Mr. Sterling? Your card was declined for the 3rd time, and we have a report of financial irregularity from your bank. I looked Mark dead in the eye. There's no problem. My husband was just leaving, but before he goes, he needs to sign one more thing. I pulled out the divorce papers he had left me. I had added a handwritten addendum at the bottom, a full confession of the unauthorized transfers in exchange for me not pressing charges for insurance fraud. Sign it, Mark. Sign it, and you can keep your fresh start. You'll be penniless, you'll have no career, and Elena here will realize she's dating a fraud, but you'll be free. Or, don't sign it, and the police waiting in the lobby will take you in for questioning regarding those life insurance policies. His hand shook so hard, he could barely hold the pen. But he signed. As he and Elena were escorted out, leaving their luggage behind because they couldn't pay the bill, I sat down in the chair he had just vacated. I watched the sun dip below the horizon. I was tired and my body ached, but for the first time in years, I felt healthy. I was Lily Rose. I had survived a failing heart, a failing marriage, and a master manipulator. And as I looked at the bank confirmation on my phone, showing the funds being reversed back to my account, I knew the best part of my story was just beginning. Please tell me in the comments where and at what time you are watching this video. End question. If you found out your partner was betting against your life, would you take the money and run, or stay for the ultimate revenge? That was a wild ride for Lily Rose. If you enjoyed this journey of betrayal and justice, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the LilyCalmStories family for more.